The news hit Alaska like a blizzard. Canada has slammed the door on American commercial traffic along the Alaska Highway. No soldiers, no barricades, just a new law and a financial wall. The only land route connecting Alaska to the rest of the U.S. is suddenly choked off. In Washington, outrage erupted. President Trump called it a betrayal and vowed swift retaliation. Ottawa stood firm, calling it a defense of sovereignty after new U.S. tariffs hit Canadian industries. The Alaska Highway, once a symbol of unity, is now the front line in a trade war. At the Sweetgrass, Montana border, truckers faced a choice: pay an astronomical toll or turn back. Many parked their rigs, cargo stranded, livelihoods in limbo. For Alaska's 730,000 residents, panic set in. The state relies on the highway for half its goods. Store shelves could empty in weeks. Prices are already climbing. Families in Anchorage and Fairbanks watched the crisis unfold, feeling more isolated than ever. This wasn't a natural disaster. It was a deliberate act by their closest neighbor. The world's longest undefended border suddenly feels like a wall. The last frontier is more alone than ever. The tension at the border is a silent standoff. Truckers and families alike are caught in a political crossfire. Alaska's future is as uncertain as the icy road ahead. The crisis is no longer distant, it's at their doorstep. The sense of betrayal is deep, and the stakes are rising. The question now, how far will this go? Canada's weapon isn't military, it's legislative. The Eco-Sovereignty and Fair Trade Act, passed quietly, gives Ottawa power to impose massive tolls on foreign trucks. Officially, it's about environmental protection and road maintenance. In reality, it's targeted retaliation for U.S. tariffs on Canadian goods. The law lets border agents charge over $25,000 per American semi, effectively shutting down the route. The Prime Minister defended the move as necessary to protect Canadian workers and sovereignty. Canada's message: if the U.S. restricts trade, Canada can hit back where it hurts. Analysts call it a paper wall, economic warfare without a shot fired. By framing it as environmental policy, Canada sidesteps trade agreement violations. The Alaska Highway, once a symbol of friendship, is now a weapon. The world is watching to see how the U.S. will respond. This is a high-stakes gamble, and both sides know it. The next move could reshape North American relations. The White House erupted as news of the highway shutdown broke. President Trump called Canada's move a stab in the back and vowed overwhelming retaliation. Within hours, he imposed 100% tariffs on Canadian auto parts, striking at the heart of Canada's manufacturing. He threatened to shut down Great Lakes shipping channels if Canada didn't relent. In a televised address, Trump invoked American pride and sovereignty, promising not to abandon Alaska. He ordered the military to airlift supplies to Alaska, Freedom Airlift, to bypass the blockade. The message: America won't be bullied, and Canada will pay a steep price. Trump's strategy is escalation, betting that Canada will fold under economic pressure. The U.S. economy dwarfs Canada's, and the White House is rallying public opinion. The Freedom Airlift is political theater, casting the U.S. as resolute and Canada as cruel. The trade dispute is now a patriotic crusade. The world watches as the two allies edge closer to a full-blown trade war. The stakes are higher than ever. The next move could define the future of the border. In Anchorage, the crisis is real. Store shelves are emptying, and families are rationing basics. Truckers like Mike O'Connell, stranded at the border, face financial ruin. The new tolls are impossible. No one can afford to drive. Businesses are desperate. Construction sites are stalled, hardware stores can't get supplies, and layoffs loom. The tourism industry braces for disaster as the summer season approaches. The economic shockwaves ripple through every Alaskan community. The governor declares a state of emergency, pleading for federal help and regional diplomacy. Alaskans feel abandoned, caught between two governments, their fate decided far away. Isolation, once a badge of honor, now feels like a trap. The state's lifeline is severed, and the sense of vulnerability is overwhelming. The crisis exposes just how dependent Alaska is on that single road. The political standoff has become a personal struggle for survival. Every day, the pressure mounts. The question on everyone's mind, how long can Alaska hold out? The answer depends on leaders thousands of miles away. For now, Alaskans wait and worry. The clock is ticking. This crisis is years in the making, a slow erosion of trust. It began with U.S. tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, shocking a longtime ally. Canada responded with targeted tariffs, but resentment simmered. Diplomatic efforts failed as both sides dug in. The U.S. escalated with a 200% tariff on Canadian softwood lumber, devastating Canada's forestry sector. Ottawa saw it as economic aggression, not just trade policy. Negotiations broke down. Confrontation replaced conciliation. Each move deepened mistrust, turning partners into rivals. The Alaska Highway blockade is the tragic result of this bitter history. The language of diplomacy gave way to threats and retaliation. Experts say the real cause is a breakdown in communication. The two governments stopped listening and started fighting. What was once a model partnership now teeters on the edge. The border, once open and friendly, is now a line of division. The question, can trust ever be rebuilt? Canada's strategy is bold, using environmental law as a shield for economic warfare. The Eco-Sovereignty Act exploits trade agreement loopholes, making U.S. retaliation tricky. The goal: inflict pain on Alaska, create political pressure in Washington, and show Canada won't be pushed around. For many Canadians, it's a stand for sovereignty and respect. The Prime Minister's popularity soars, but the risks are huge. An all-out trade war could devastate Canada's economy and destroy decades of goodwill. Some business leaders warn the government is playing with fire. The move could backfire, leaving Canada worse off. The U.S. is a vital trading partner. Hurting them could hurt Canada more. The blockade is a gamble with high stakes and uncertain rewards. The world sees a middle power using creative leverage against a superpower. But the cost could be lasting damage to a historic alliance. The next steps will determine if this is a turning point or a disaster. The U.S.-Canada relationship is at a crossroads. The blockade and retaliation have frozen diplomacy. Experts say the first step is reopening communication. Quiet, serious negotiation. A temporary ceasefire could suspend tolls and tariffs, letting goods flow and easing tensions. A neutral mediator might help broker a deal on lumber, steel, and aluminum. Both sides must compromise, acknowledging economic realities and addressing grievances. The choice: escalate and risk permanent rupture, or negotiate and restore trust. The Alaska Highway was built as a symbol of unity. Now, the world watches to see if that unity can be rebuilt. The path forward demands courage, wisdom, and a renewed commitment to partnership. Even the closest friendships can break, but they can also heal. The next move will shape the future of the border and both nations.